In the middle of the beautiful Colorado mountains, there sat a cozy lodge called Mountain Haven. It was a peaceful place surrounded by tall trees and snowy peaks, a perfect spot for people who wanted a break from the noisy world. Folks came from far and wide to enjoy the lodge's snug cabins and the quiet beauty of nature. But the peacefulness of Mountain Haven was soon disturbed by something strange. People started disappearing without a trace. Mountain Haven had always been a place where people could relax. Guests would come, excited to hike the trails, ski on the snowy slopes, or just sit by the warm fire in their cabins. But something unusual happened as winter came. Guests who came to stay at the lodge began vanishing mysteriously. Their things, like phones, wallets, and coats, were left behind in their cabins. Nobody could figure out where they went. The first disappearance was of a woman named Emily. She had come to Mountain Haven with her family, looking forward to a week of snowy fun. After a day of skiing, Emily returned to her cabin, saying she needed to rest. Her family thought she was tired and left her alone. But when they came back later, Emily was gone. Her coat, her phone, and her boots were still there, but she had disappeared. People searched all over the snowy woods calling her name, but there was no sign of Emily. Days turned into weeks, and despite the efforts of the local police, she remained missing. A few weeks later, there was another disappearance. A man named Mark, who liked to hike alone, arrived at Mountain Haven. Mark was an experienced hiker and went for a hike one morning, leaving a note for the lodge staff about where he was going. But he didn't come back. The staff followed his note, trying to find where he had gone. They found his backpack, filled with snacks and a water bottle, but there was no sign of Mark. It was as if he had disappeared into thin air, leaving only his things behind. With each disappearance, the lodge's reputation got worse. People who used to be excited to visit Mountain Haven now felt scared. Some canceled their reservations, while others stayed, hoping that the mystery would be solved. The third and most puzzling disappearance was that of a couple, Lisa and Mike. They had come to the lodge for a romantic trip. They spent their days exploring the snowy landscape and their nights cozying up in their cabin. On their last night, they decided to go for a walk in the moonlight through the forest. The next morning, the lodge staff found out that Lisa and Mike had not come back to their cabin. They followed their footprints in the snow, which led into the forest. But the footprints suddenly stopped, and there was no sign of where the couple had gone. Their cabin was untouched, with their warm clothes, camera, and a cup of hot cocoa still on the table. The local police were called in, but despite their searching, Lisa and Mike were still missing. The list of people who had vanished without a trace was getting longer. As winter went on, fewer people wanted to stay at Mountain Haven. What was once a popular spot for outdoor lovers became known for the strange mystery hanging over it. People talked about it, and the local community became afraid of the place. The lodge owners were worried and hired private investigators to figure out what was happening. They looked at the evidence, talked to witnesses, and thought about every possibility, from wild animals to bad things happening. But they couldn't find a good answer. One investigator, who knew a lot about the wilderness, decided to stay in one of the cabins near the forest where people had disappeared. He wanted to see if he could find any clues. One night, as he sat by the cabin window, watching the snow come down outside, he heard a soft faraway sound. It was a tune, a bit sad and strange, like a quiet flute playing a song. He got curious and followed the sound through the trees, deeper into the forest. The tune led him to a clear space in the woods. There he saw something that made his skin crawl. In the moonlight, he saw shadowy figures moving among the trees, like they were dancing to the haunting music. Terrified, the investigator walked away slowly and went back to the lodge. He told the owners what he had seen, and they were just as scared. They told the police, hoping this could help solve the mystery. The police searched the area around the clearing. What they found was really strange and scary. Under the snow, they found secret tunnels and rooms hidden away. These tunnels were full of things that belonged to the missing guests. Clothes, backpacks, and personal things, all organized neatly. But the scariest part was a set of journals. one for each missing guest. The journals talked about what happened before the people disappeared. They said that the guests felt like they had to follow the haunting music into the forest, like something was making them go. With this new evidence, the police closed off the tunnels and told everyone to stay away from that part of the forest. The lodge's reputation started to get better as people realized that the spooky music and the hidden tunnels were not a danger anymore. The mystery of the missing guests was never solved, but people who stayed at Mountain Haven felt safer knowing that the strange music and the hidden tunnels were no longer a threat. The mountains continued to be a beautiful place for adventure, but they were also a reminder that sometimes, even in peaceful spots, mysteries could be hiding in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered.